Hey y'all, welcome to Sasser House. My name is Chris. In this video today, we are going to show you guys how to turn your ceilings from this into this. If you want to know how to do shiplap ceilings the easy way, just keep watching. Okay, so I want to show you guys a little tip here that I just learned. So our ceilings are obviously the opposite of smooth. And so I've got one of these stud finders that you normally can use on a wall and slide it across, and then it will tell you when there is a stud. Well, I've learned it just beeps at you. It's not working because it's not sitting smooth against the ceiling. So I was gonna, obviously find the ceiling joists that are in here, and that's where we were gonna nail the shiplap boards to, but the stud finder was not working. And so I could just take a hammer and nail and put a bunch of holes in the ceiling, but I didn't want to do that and waste time. So I learned this trick here just a couple minutes ago. I can take a piece of cardboard, which then makes it smooth, and it will read through the cardboard and then through these really pointy, rough ceilings and help me find the ceiling joist. So I just slide it along this cardboard until we find one of the ceiling joists. There's one right there. I'm gonna take my pencil and just mark that right there. So it should be somewhere right in here. Yep, so it's gonna be right there. Okay, so once you have found one of your ceiling joists, I know that mine are every 16 inches. So then I can just measure out 16 inches over and make another mark there, just like that. And I'll do that on the entire wall and mark every 16 inches. All right, so on the opposite side of our ceiling, I went ahead and did the same thing, and I found where our ceiling joists were, measured out 16 inches, and I put screws up into the ceiling joist at each one. So the next step is going to be using a chalk line. I'm going to hook the chalk line on one end onto the screws that are in the ceiling joist. We're gonna stretch it out, and Emily is gonna help me. She will hold it on the lines of the ceiling joist where I marked on the opposite end of the room, and then I'll get in the middle and we will pop lines to mark all of our ceiling joist.
So what we're doing right here is using this little chalk line, and we are just holding it up to these tick marks that Chris made right over the ceiling joists. And he is going to pop it just by pulling it, and it's going to put that dust right in a line on the ceiling so that we will see where the joist is.
We went ahead and popped all of our lines in the entire kitchen before getting started on the shiplap ceilings. This will save us time down the road, and we'll make sure that we're hitting those ceiling joists instead of just shooting randomly in the drywall. I did have to go ahead and remove our light fixtures in our kitchen, which was totally fine because we were wanting to get rid of these anyways and get new light fixtures, which we will show later in this video. We went with the blue chalk line instead of the red because it seems to be a little less messy. Next, we went to Home Depot to pick up the shiplap boards. They are $7.98 per board, which is super expensive if you're trying to do a large area, and we are planning to do our entire house. So we are going to start with just a little bit at a time. We're going to do our kitchen first. So I only got enough boards to start with the kitchen, and then we will do this in other rooms as we can afford it.
All right, I am out in my shed, and the next step for this project, we're going to paint the shiplap boards before we install them. We will have to touch them up just a little bit, fill some nail holes and whatnot, but this will make the project so much easier since our house has lots of furniture and things in the way in the living room and kitchen. And so instead of making a mess, we're going to paint everything before we install it. So I'm just going to use my favorite little 3-inch foam roller. We are painting it all in the color Cottage White, which is a little bit of an off-white color. It is the same color as our walls, and so that's a little different. Usually I'm used to painting ceilings just a pure white or ceiling white, but Emily wants them to be the same color as the walls. So we've got Cottage White. I'm going to just roll these. These are pre-primed, so we're just going to go straight on with the paint, and then as I get them done on my sawhorses, I'm going to lay them over there in the back end of the shed to dry. All right, this is board one. Emily's out on the road, so I don't have a helper to hold both ends, but I think I'll be able to still hold these long boards up and hang them. I'll just shoot a nail in it and then kind of adjust it into place. So let's get the first board on. Just gonna butt it up
tight against that wall. Hold it up like that. We'll shoot our first nail into that ceiling joist. All right. And then that should be enough to hold it. Then I'm gonna tap it over a little bit tighter against the wall, and we'll shoot some more nails in it. So I normally just use a battery-powered nail gun, but I ended up for this project, since there's so much to do with a nail gun, I bought a compressor and other nail gun set, and I didn't have the pressure set right to start with, so I had a lot of setting the nails by hand after because it wasn't shooting the nails all the way in. But after I got that fixed, it flew by, and I'm glad that I bought the new nail gun. All right, so I've got my second board. Just for a little bit of extra security, I'm using this Liquid Nails construction adhesive. And I'm basically just going to do like just a little bit of glue, like a little X shape, like every foot or 2 feet. This is just gonna give it just a little bit of extra to hold on to. I don't think you have to do this, especially if your ceilings are flat. But since we have all of that heavy texture and ups and downs in the ceiling, this is just going to help everything hold on there and sit as flat as possible. So just a few little X's of glue. That'll help it hold. Then from here, you basically just repeat that same exact process, putting the glue on the back of each board and then nailing it up until you go all the way across the room. Now, I will say, after I got that first row done, I basically did 2 full 8-foot boards, but you will want to alternate the pattern kind of like you do on flooring. And if you've never done flooring before and you don't understand exactly what I'm saying, basically on the second row, so the first row was 2 full 8-foot boards. The next row, I did like a 4-foot board, for example, to start, and then an 8-foot board. And it basically just makes sure that the seams of each board on each row don't line up, because that wouldn't look good if you did straight 8-foot boards. All of your seams would line up on the exact same joist. So alternating the pattern for a good look is always good on stuff like this. And then the other thing is, make sure to break each one of these boards on your pattern on a ceiling joist. That way you can get as many nails into that joist as possible. Since we did all of this prep work beforehand, like marking out our ceiling joist lines so we know where to nail the boards, and we pre-painted each board, this project was going by super quick to start until we got to those light fixture holes where we had to make those cuts around the light fixture to leave a spot to wire those in. So hold the board up. I'm going to make a mark here and a mark here. Then I measure from here to here and make a mark. This is super DIY and not professional, but anytime I have a round mark to make, I end up getting my edges, and then I use something round like this kitchen canister to make that perfect semicircle. I marked that semicircle in the exact spot that the kitchen light was going to be on this board, and then I cut it out with my jigsaw and cleaned it up with just a sanding block. While I'm outside, I want to go ahead and show you guys the process of cutting each of the shiplap boards. I have my miter saw set up, and I have written down my pattern after the first 4 rows, so I know exactly what lengths that I need, and I go ahead and make a bunch of cuts all at once. That way I can make as least amount of trips as possible out to the saw, and I'm just going inside and slinging up boards as quick as I can. And if a cut is a little bit off when I get to a wall or the wall is out of square, I will end up just going back outside and trimming a little bit off of that one. So then you just continue to repeat these same steps. You cut your boards, you put some glue on the back of them, and then you nail them up into place. And as long as you don't have a crazy room with lots of corners and different cuts you have to make, like a hallway or a small room, this goes up super fast, and it is very satisfying because you are covering your ceiling in a matter of 30 minutes. Okay, so it's time to hang the lights, and I accidentally cut this one a little too tight, so I'm gonna have to use this multi-tool and trim just a little bit of that off. Okay, so I did not have the right blade on the multi-tool. That one was way too big. So I ended up messing up the face of some of these boards a little bit, but I think I got just enough out. If I can sneak this bracket in there, then we will be good to install the light. Okay, so we are about to hang up some of our kitchen lights, and I have never done this before. This might be common knowledge for everyone else, but maybe not if this is your first time hanging a light. And so our new lights come with all of this extra string here, or all of this extra wire. And obviously we don't want ours, we only have 8-foot ceilings, so we don't want ours to hang down that far. So there's a little spot here I'm going to loosen up. It allows me to pull the excess up through it, like that, something like that. And I have already measured out and held it up to see how much we need to cut off. All right, so I've got the thing here now. We've held it up to see how high we want it. Now I'm going to take the inside part of these pliers and just cut all of this excess off here. All right. Now that's much more manageable. Then I'm going to just take my razor knife, and I've got to skin some of this off so we have our 3 individual wires that are inside of there. I got all of that started. We got those 3 pulled out there. Then we just pull however much we think we might need, something like that. And then we will cut off all the excess there. Just like that. Then the same thing for each of those 3. We'll just kind of skin off some of that until we get our exposed wire on each one. All right, and after you strip those wires back, just like that, now you should have your 3 wires that are stripped down like that. And it's short, so you can hang it up. Okay, so I've got our light fixture trimmed up to the length that we wanted, or about the length that we want it. And so the first thing I'm going to do is take, you can't tell, a lot of these are clear, but there's a little bit of a green there and a little bit of a white there, and then that one's black. So I'm going to take the green wire first and hook it to our ground and to that ground screw and tighten that up. Then the white will go to the white and the black will go to the black. Then we'll tighten everything up. So I didn't mention this already, but make sure to go to the breaker box and flip the breaker so there's no power coming to these light fixtures before you get started, so you don't shock yourself. When I first got this home, I'd never changed out a light fixture in my entire life, and it was a little bit intimidating, honestly, because I was like, oh, this is electrical work. But if you've never done this before, it's actually super easy. You're basically just matching up the colored wires from your new light to what is in your ceiling. So the green goes to the green, black to the black, and the white to the white. And other than that, it's pretty simple, and as long as you shut the power off, you won't hurt yourself. I changed out the 2 light fixtures in the middle of our kitchen that go above our table, and then I also went ahead and changed out the light fixture while I was in this mode above our kitchen sink. And if you guys like any of these light fixtures in this video that we are using, we will put the link down in the description below. These came from Amazon, so they are super affordable, and they're kind of vintagey, but still look new and modern. All right, so we are almost done with the entire kitchen, and we're kind of entering this little hallway section where it kind of continues into the living room. So this is about to be the hardest thing that we have done so far, which is going around a corner like this. So what I've done is it's going to be a regular length board or width board like normal until we get to that wall. And then I had to actually cut the entire tongue off of part of this board. And then the rest of the row will have to be completely ripped, the tongue off of that, for it to fit in that last section against the wall. And so that's gonna be the hardest thing. And then we should line back up and be able to do full length boards in the next room. So we notched the tongue off to where it went around the corner, and then the rest of this entire row will basically just be one of the boards with that tongue part ripped off. So we're gonna rip those, and then we'll be able to say we're done with the kitchen. After your last board is hung, you are finally ready to take some putty or some nail hole filler and go ahead and fill all of your holes from the entire project and make this look really clean and nice. You will need to touch up the paint. So I'm using this spackling in a tube because I really like the fact that you put it in and it's pink, and then you know when it's dry because it turns white. So I basically went through the entire kitchen and filled all of those holes just with my finger, rubbing it into each of the cracks that I wanted to cover. And then once it dried, I go ahead and take some sandpaper. I'm going to use 400 grit sandpaper and a sanding block to sand off any of the excess that is on that putty. So that way it's nice and smooth, but I will have to touch up the paint after this. So I sand it all down until it's nice and smooth, and I like the way that it looks. And then I will touch up the paint, and this project will be done. Here's a reminder of what our ceilings looked like before we added the shiplap. It was this horrible, ugly texture. It wasn't popcorn. It wasn't just a regular texture. It was just horrible. And then here is what they look like now. We are obsessed with the shiplap ceilings, and we can't wait to do this throughout our entire house. I hope this video has encouraged you guys and taught you guys how to do shiplap if you're interested in that. But you might notice the kitchen cabinets have changed since the beginning of this video, and we have remodeled our entire kitchen to this point, and we're going to share videos here on our page at Sasser House. So if you guys are interested in a kitchen remodel, make sure that you go hit that subscribe button and stay tuned, because those are coming very soon, and we have completely transformed this kitchen. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.